Hey, this is Ross Partridge. I am the curious man in Lost World, and you're listening to Jurassic Cast podcast.
Okay, guys and gals, we have another Jurassic Park series guest with us. We have the wonderful Ross Partridge, who was in The Lost World as the Curious Man. Thanks for joining us, Ross.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, the pleasure's all ours, you know. It's, the scene you're in is such a classic scene in the movie. I mean, everyone remembers it, and everyone you speak to always loves it. I mean, so...
Is that true? I'm glad you guys remember.
Honestly, it is.
There really is a big cult following behind that whole subway sequence.
That's amazing. I'm learning this now, which is very interesting. So, it was a lot of fun to do, and I didn't realize that when you do these small kind of roles, you never actually know if one they're actually going to make it in the film, and two, whether or not people will respond to it at all, or you'll be remembered, especially in a movie with dinosaurs where clearly the dinosaurs are going to win, so you kind of never know what's going to happen. And even with this, you are right that the scene kind of did stick out. It actually enabled me to get one of my first managers and so forth and so on, because they saw the movie like everybody else did and was like, hey, that scene really stuck out. So I guess you're right, and I give you that.
I mean, how did the role come about for you? Did you audition, or was you spotted?
Yeah, I auditioned for it was a company back then called it was Jane Jenkins, and it was a company called the Casting Company, and they had seen me kind of audition for a bunch of stuff, and I think I remember Spielberg. It wasn't even scripted, and he had an idea of just this one scene or something, and it was. I remember I auditioned for, it was supposedly like a contractor, like a guy doing construction, and they basically brought me in, and they were like, okay, just improvise a little bit and pretend that you are on a building and you're a contractor and you're just yelling down at some people about the shit that they're not doing right or something. So I was like, I don't even know what this is. All right, great. I'm like, I thought I was coming in for a dinosaur movie, and okay, here I go. So. Before I know it, I'm like, hey, Joe, give it a 2x4, whatever. Just doing whatever I do. Just kind of make
just reciting Hacksaw Jim Duggan lines.
Yeah, get the back, they're moving in, watch my foot, whatever. And somehow I did something that was funny enough, I guess, that Spielberg liked it, and he, put me in that scene, and that was a great. That was great news, but it was also what was disappointing was the night, the irony of shooting that scene on the subway was that Spielberg at that point had never shot in a New York subway, I think, and
really?
or never shot in New York or something. So he was so excited to go, and he was going to, do this scene on a New York subway. This is the story that the producers told me anyway, so I'm sticking with it. But so the night before, everyone, I mean, they literally, the crew flew out to go to New York, and for this one scene, which most of it was on a soundstage in LA, and the night before, his wife went into labor, so Steven didn't even get to show up that day on set. He kind of just phoned in and kind of checked in, and David Koepp, the great writer and director now, David Koepp, basically had to fill in for him because Steven's wife was delivering their child. So it was kind of a bummer because I didn't get to meet him. But then we did the scene, and then his producer, it was Kathleen, I think it was. Yeah, Kathleen Marshall, or was it Kathleen Kennedy? I can't remember which one.
Kennedy.
This is how. Yeah, that's Kennedy. This is how. I'm glad you guys know. Thanks for
one of the two
checking. It was. Anyway, so Kathleen basically invited me down to the set, to the soundstage, because they were shooting everything on Universal lot, and I got to go down and meet Steven and everybody else in the cast, and kind of watch them finish out the day. got to see the enormous scope of the film of, we were kind of, I remember walking into like above, like on a catwalk, kind of like coming in, and you look down and you see like Jurassic World beneath your feet. And then you realize, oh my God, this is, you kind of forget because I just shooting a scene on a subway. And then you come in and you're like, holy shit, this is a gigantic movie. I've never been a part of a gigantic movie like that. So it was quite fun.
Yeah. Awesome.
Sounds
Jack?
awesome. Yeah, I was going to say, was there anything that like didn't make it into the final product that you remember? I know we're probably asking the memory.
Back 20 years.
Right. I don't. There was some stuff that obviously, again, they kind of let. I think they let it improvise. By the time I got the job, then I got the script, and I think they were, it was scripted out with kind of the whole thing that went down. But it was funny. Jeff Goldblum was amazing, and he to show up on a set and then see, Jeff who showed up and he's very much the consummate actor, and he started doing his prep work while we were on the subway, and I was just kind of like a young punk who was just, just flying by the seat of my pants, and he showed up. I remember coming into the train car with filled with extras, and I had to get down there, of course, like 45 minutes before he did, and was just kind of sitting in the car, just kind of like getting, ready or just waiting for him. And he shows up and he walks in, he was so lovely and nice, but he was in his mode. He was in his, like, this thing that he does, and I had no idea what it was, but he showed up with a newspaper. And he sat down into the train while, they were still futzing with the lighting. We kind of blocked through the scene. And he sat down and started reading the newspaper, kind of ignoring everybody. And it was kind of, I think, it was part of his relaxation kind of method, that he was doing. And he slowly started to, like, pick up with his hand what was an imaginary cup of coffee. And he started drinking this imaginary cup of coffee. And this is kind of, I'm sitting like, across the way as if I was on a subway, because I was, but, we weren't moving. And he just kept, reading the paper, and then intermittently just taking a sip of his coffee and kind of putting it down on his lap and looking around and kind of every once in a while nodding to somebody, the way Jeff Goldblum does. And, at a certain point, it became, even the extras are kind of looking at me like, huh, like, this is interesting. And finally, at a certain point, I just decided to break it, and which was kind of like perfect, because then I walked up and I took an imaginary cup of milk and I poured it into his coffee. And he looked at me and I said, "There's a little cream for your coffee." And I sat back down. And then we basically then started the scene, and he appreciated it, and it was fun. It was all in good spirit. And, it was just a funny anecdote to the day.
Is that the first time you met him?
Yeah, it was absolutely the first time. Yeah, it was quite an intro. Like, hello, I will be over here. Nice to meet you, but I'm gonna tend to my paper, and tend to my coffee. I'm having breakfast while you watch me.
Nate?
Good.
All right. So, has anyone ever recognized you out in public as the curious man from the Lost World?
Yeah.
What did you say? Besides from you guys, you should. I'm flocked all the time. You wouldn't be. There have been a few instances where my wife takes care of some kids every once in a while, and their friends, or we take care of their friend's family, and then all of a sudden they'll watch The Lost World, and then they'll be like, "Oh my God, is that Jen's husband?" Or
they start clicking their fingers.
Wait a minute, that's crazy. Hey, what? Yeah, exactly. But at the time, no, I don't think people would recognize me. Again, there was dinosaurs in that movie. They're not going to recognize some dude on a subway with a bad mullet. But yeah, no, I haven't. And then certainly since then, no, not much recognition. But there have been a few people who were like, "Why haven't we? They should have brought that character back."
We were talking about this on
people
another
like
podcast.
us.
Yeah.
We were saying a few episodes ago that we thought we could very easily imagine that character coming back in the San Diego scene towards the end, because obviously your character doubts Jeff Goldblum's character for talking about dinosaurs, and it would have been good to have some payoff of him being like, watching the news or something in New York, going, wait a second.
Exactly. He could be like the conspiracy theorist that never let it go. He's that one subway ride made a turn for his life for the worse, and he basically like obsesses about discrediting this doctor and disproving this whole theory, for the rest of his life. Just shows back up and says, "I was right." I don't know. Like, who knows? But I would certainly welcome it. It would be fun. It would be a gag to have him come back and have Jeff and I back on the subway again. Maybe this time I could be having an imaginary cup of coffee.
Yeah.
You sit next to him, you're just like, I'm sorry, you were right. I've been to Jurassic World.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to go see it for myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Going back to you mentioned your hair. It reminded me that we were talking to a friend of ours called Ewan, who lives in London, and about the scene. We were on about this whole scene in an episode a few weeks ago. And he said that for years he'd confused your character with the guy from The Breakfast Club, the John Bender guy in that.
Judd Nelson?
Yeah.
Yep. That's him.
I'll tell you why. It's not necessarily my hair in that. I think it's the trench coat.
Yeah. It is. It's got to be.
Yeah, I think it's the trench coat, because you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, the guy in the trench coat shows up. He does have long hair too. I don't know if his mullet was as bad as mine, but it was the time, man. That's the scary part about film. Those little accidents never go away.
Well, it's now spread to that Breakfast Club is an unofficial prequel to The Lost World, and when he walks off with his fist in the air,
he's off to get a subway.
Yeah, he goes off to get on the subway, and then
they should be doing more of that, where they link, certain characters from certain movies. They just show up in other movies, just like, bouncing. That would have been great if it was Judd Nelson actually showing up. Everyone would have believed it too. It would have been fantastic. He wasn't available. He was. He was busy.
Did you something that people always point out about that scene as well is old Eli Roth's in it as well, isn't he?
Is he?
Yeah, he's sort of standing on the opposite side of the carriage to you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. God, I don't even remember that part of it. He doesn't say anything. He just is kind of watching, right?
Yeah, it was only 20 years ago. Sure, you can remember.
Yeah. God, I wish I remembered. I don't know. He might have not even shown up. They might have shot that in L.A. just by himself.
Yeah,
he was a big deal. So, yeah. Anyway,
man, we were cracking up about the Breakfast Club theories and linking it all together, and somebody photoshopped. I think it was, or did a side by side of you with your hand up on the subway bar next to the guy from Breakfast Club with his fist pump in the air. And we had the Simple Minds playing behind it. Hey!
No way. Is that a GIF? Can you send me that?
Yeah,
I actually made a video of it as well.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I'll
email it
video.
to you,
Oh, I have to have that.
I'll email it to you.
Yeah. We kind of got in this mood, and we're just cracking up because we're like, I wonder what that guy's doing right now, and found you, and man,
that's hilarious. That is so funny. All right, if you send me that as a GIF, I'll post it on my social media.
Yes,
for sure, and send like a link to your guys your podcast, and we'll get this thing moving. Come on, let's Who's doing the next one? I can't remember. It's not Colin. He's not doing the next one, is he?
It's Spanish by J.A. Bayona.
Yeah.
They're filming in London. I think they're filming in London early next year. We were saying we were going to start a hashtag called "Bring Back the Curious Man."
Guys, do it. I would appreciate it. Do it. Give the Curious Man a name.
At least.
Yeah, make him come alive.
Oh, nice.
Jim Bender, the brother.
Yeah.
Done.
All right. Is everyone else got anything they want to ask Ross?
I was going to ask, so what are you working on at the moment? Because you've been, working ever since, obviously. So
I heard you're doing Stranger Things.
Yeah, which is actually a very Spielbergian, if that's a word, kind of a show. Is it? Do you guys use that? Spielbergian? You approve? It's certified, board approved.
We all know what it means, but we can't put a finger on
Spielbergian. Yeah, it's just kind of like that. young kid quality with really great ethereal music that makes you feel scared, but yet feels alive and playful, and yet, nostalgic all at the same time. So it's called Stranger Things, and that's coming out July 15th. I have just a small arc on that, but it's a great show. I'm so excited for people to see it. I think it's going to be, the type of show that everybody, like all audiences, will be able to kind of, it's a family show. From your grandparents to young kids can all watch it, which I think is a rare experience these days. And then, I just directed a film and starred in a film that came out in January that
Lamb,
Lamb. And so
I watched that a couple of months ago, actually. You can rent it on Netflix. Netflix, or in the UK, you can rent it through YouTube.
Right, exactly.
That was, it was a very well-made film. What did you have any kind of, I suppose you didn't, but sort of worrying about how it would be perceived?
Oh, for sure. It's challenging material. It's to walk a fine line of something that people are just felt like was complicit in some way, that they knew that it was going to end up in a certain direction, but yet you're threading that thing, and that's not exactly I wasn't looking to make that type of movie, but I think the message underneath it was it's a really strong. It's hard. It's not an easy movie, but it's it's as independent films go. But it was definitely a concern of how will this land? Where will it land? And the response has been amazing. It's been an incredible journey, and it's been really rewarding in so many ways. So, well worth it. And we're on to the next and trying to figure out what I'm going to do next.
Yeah, no, well, definitely.
Obviously, that would be. Obviously, that's Jurassic World 2, right? Like, Curious Man Returns.
That's what's next for me. I am definitely. Sign me up. I'm ready to go.
I've heard that's the official title of the next.
That's the subtitle.
Jurassic World subtitle. Yes. Curious Man Returns.
The Curious Man Returns. Yeah, exactly. Hell with the dinosaurs. The Curious Man is back.
He does need a name, though. We need a.
He does.
Why don't we think of one?
I think he's like a Freddy or something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
He's like a Fred. Goes by Freddy. He's just it's like.
Yeah, he's like from the streets of New York.
He's from the streets of New York. Yeah, he's probably actually from like West Virginia, but he's always wanted to be in New York, so he actually got like an Amtrak pass and came up, and then all of a sudden he just acquired the accent, in a day, just because he watched too many Scorsese films or something.
That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, fantastic.
All right, Ross. Well,
all right.
We massively appreciate you coming on the show and delving back into a film you made 20 years ago. But
guys, I appreciate your dedication, your enthusiasm, and your support.
The honor's all ours, and we appreciate you coming on.
I'm definitely going to check out Stranger Things.
Definitely, it's going to be.
Yeah, I was just looking that up, not to be rude or anything. I was actually looking it up. I was like, oh, what is this?
The trailer's great, and I play Winona Ryder's ex-husband. We have a couple kids together, and she's phenomenal in this. It's a really challenging, tough role, and she's great. So I think it's gonna be good for her.
Yeah, it's got spooky Goonies written all over it. I love it.
Yeah, it's totally spooky Goonies. It's the same kind of fun as Goonies, but it definitely is kind of eerie as well. And,
a little darker.
I'll go for that.
These guys are the directors. It's so well done, so well put together. I think that people are going to really. I think it's going to be a huge hit. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz on the internet about it when they
the internet is ablaze. That's the barometer nowadays.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying.
On fire.
That's all we're trying to do for Jurassic World 2 right now.
Let's set that puppy on a blaze. Come on, Curious Man is back.
Awesome.
We need to get busy on a movie poster immediately.
Can you do the movie? Can you why don't you take the Judd Nelson kind of theme and work off of that?
Yep. We got it.
All right, you got it?
We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
All right. We'll
dress the character in how Judd Nelson dresses nowadays.
Exactly.
Use his style.
Exactly.
Like a prison jumpsuit, or
I actually should take off all my hair. I should have just gone completely bald. I've got you can make me look like get some Richard Thomas like John Boy glasses from the Waltons and
Yeah.
do it all up. Poor
There you
guy. Yeah.